Two restaurants in Chelsea today, both kind of under the foodie radar. Why? I don't know. New York's full of restaurants, but I love them. We're outside of Pastai, which is on 9th Avenue between 21st and 22nd Street. Pasta-centric, as the name says. Pastai is a pasta maker. Handmade artisan pastas, beautiful program. We're gonna do lunch here, then head over to Eola for dinner. Eola's on 7th Avenue. 2 blocks, same block. Sicilian, run by a wonderful owner. Sicilian origin, grew up in the restaurant business, had her academia thing, and then was drawn back in. This is in her blood. She wants to do the restaurant thing. So we're gonna meet the owner, get the story. 2 restaurants, a lot about Sicilian food and wine. That's what's up today. I'm Mike Colameco, industry insider. Been in the business my whole life, and I know what it takes to succeed. Each week we'll take you into real kitchens, filmed in real time. Backstage passes to a day in the life of chefs, restaurateurs, and their teams. The competition's fierce. Careers, life savings, and reputations hang in the balance. These are my people, and this is their passion. And that's what's next on Mike Colameco's Real Food. Mike Colameco's Real Food is brought to you by the continuous, generous support of the following underwriters.
Cola Vita, a true Italian.
What goes into King Arthur flour can't be measured in a single cup. Thousands of recipes, plus products, and other baking resources are at kingarthurflour.com.
From Welshire Farms comes Lou's Garrett Valley Naturals, a collection of our recipes made from minimal ingredients without added antibiotics, hormones, nitrates, nitrites, or artificial ingredients. Lou's Garrett Valley Naturals.
A heritage preserved over centuries with passion, craftsmanship, and care. The flavor of European pork and beef. The taste of European tradition. Mancini, maker of American fire-roasted peppers.
Imported from Italy, Anna Pasta is made from 100% Italian durum wheat semolina and pure spring water, slowly dried to cook al dente. Recipes online at cento.com.
Okay, today the restaurants are Pastai and Eola, and the chef owner is Melissa Muller. Let's start at Pastai with their wonderful handmade pasta program. So chef, what are we making?
We're making some pasta grattata. What I'm doing here is using a little semolina and durum, a little salt and water, and just using my hands to mix it little by little.
Interesting about this dish is it's the name is pasta grattata, so that it almost implies that there's this piece of dough and you're grating it. That's what you say if you say on a cheese grater. That's the name, but it's really that these little pieces will now go in the sifter, and then whatever flour is flour's left over is going down, and the pieces that we want go up. And this flour goes back in, and you keep working it. The look you start seeing on the grattata is you have a thicker piece, you have a thinner piece. The whole idea is just dough bits.
Just water.
Any salt?
A little salt.
Little pinch of salt and water.
That's it.
Old school. So who used to make this? Your mom, your grandma?
My grandmother, as a child. And as I was growing up, she made it occasionally. It wasn't one of her staples. But then reading about it, I said, oh Grandma did this.
You can see the starch already thickening. Look at the bubbles on the top, right?
Exactly.
Tell me, you have this great story, introduced to you by mutual friends, and you're the chef owner, so clearly. Tell me your story, how you got into this business, because you sort of started in the restaurant business and then had a brief foray in academia in a serious way, and then somehow, through God knows what reason, you were drawn back in, but you tell the story.
Right, okay. I spent every summer growing up in Sicily. So the day school would end, I was there. I mean, I basically lived all year long for those summers. That's all I thought about. And the main thing that always struck me was the food.
House-made ricotta.
You guys make your own ricotta?
We do.
And that's how I got into cooking. My mother's sous chef, and soon enough when holidays came, I was the one cooking for the family.
Grab my pesto and some roasted cherry tomatoes.
Beautiful,
that's our pasta grattata. Buono. This is a custom whole wheat tortio with just
little simple tomato sauce,
and some chiffonade basil.
My father does international tax law. It was an expectation that that might be something, a dynamic international career. My heart really wasn't in the academics, so I quickly knew that it wasn't for me, and I went to culinary school instead.
So what we have here is spaghetti, roasted cherry tomatoes, garlic breadcrumbs, Calabrian peppers, and anchovies.
And again, this is your handmade fresh spaghetti.
You got it.
Right after September 11th, this restaurant across the street from where I was working, it had been for sale, but for a crazy amount of money. And the owner suddenly really had no business after that point and needed to sell. And it needed to sell so badly that on my savings, I was able to purchase the lease from him.
Turnkey, fixtures.
Turnkey, everything. I mean, literally on November 1st, I was away, I landed at Newark, and they said, oh, you can come now and pick up the key. And I said, what? Suddenly that night, and we signed the papers on November 2nd, but that night I had a key to the restaurant, and suddenly I was the owner. And
At what age?
22. 22.
So Chef, what are we going to cut today?
We're going to do a Rustic Gemelli.
Okay. So what do we have in here? What kind of flour is this?
Semolina and durum mixture.
Okay.
Just the same, a pinch of salt, nothing else. We don't really use the egg much because of the lifespan, the shelf life. We just use straight water. So right now it's just gonna mix, and I'm gonna add the water slowly.
You can see it's beginning to catch, right?
Yep.
It takes so much less water than I thought when I first saw this made. It looks like, no way, it's too dry. And then, no, that's the way it's made.
So once it's all in, I'm just gonna let that incorporate a little longer.
And pull some out and squeeze it for me, because to test for done, it just has to just barely catch in your hand.
This is what you're looking for, and if you compress it enough, you're gonna get dough.
Right.
And this is what the machine is pretty much doing.
I often hear the question, why bronze?
Yeah, we'll talk about that versus Teflon or some of the other dyes that they use, because there is this huge difference in texture.
The bronze is a soft metal, and it's more porous than other metals. So by extruding the pasta through it, it creates a texture on it that's not perfectly smooth. So you can see these little, the way the pasta is coming up a little bit, which might look imperfect, but it's perfect for what we're looking for. When this goes in a sauce, it just soaks up that sauce.
What I got here is a sheet of beet pasta. The filler is mint and ricotta. So right here we have the brown butter walnut sauce. It's a walnut pesto.
Really rich.
Really rich.
I mean, that sauce could be a freaking meal. And that's the beet ravioli with the ricotta?
Yes, sir. This was with the ricotta and taleggio and gorgonzola.
Okay, so 3 cheeses.
3 cheeses.
So reduced heavy cream, parsley, garlic.
Actually, we got some dill in there, garlic. Just a little olive oil with the scallops. Good to go.
Pasta water. All right, this is gorgeous, man. This just screams spring, huh? We have grated zucchini, asparagus that's in season, early peas. Beautiful. Touch of mint, Parmesan Reggiano. Simple and perfect. I mean, this is why the world loves pasta. 3-4 ingredients, flour and water, some vegetables, no stock, just a little water from the pasta cooker. Fantastic. We haven't left Chelsea. Pastai is 2 blocks directly to my east, so we've wandered 2 blocks from 9th Avenue to 7th Avenue, same stretch between 21st and 22nd, Eola. This is the chef's homage to her Sicilian roots, her Sicilian grandmom, her Sicilian mom, and the cuisine of Sicily, which is pretty cool. We learn about Sicilian food here, a bunch of demos, eat a bunch of food, drink some Sicilian wines. That's how we roll. Sicilian food, I mean, Sicily is really its own. Is it part of Italy? Is it not part of Italy? I mean, its own language. Italy's such a funny country because it's younger, really, way younger than America. It's a hodgepodge, just kind of grafted together in a way. But Sicily's so unique because over the years there's been so many influences on that island. Talk a bit about Sicilian cuisine, like so we can wrap our brains around it.
Yeah. My answer would be no, it's not part of Italy. It's part of Italy under the national flag that it's Italy when Garibaldi unified and took it out of the rule of the Bourbon aristocrats. But it's really, its own space and living from food to land to architecture to the people to the personalities.
What's the salad component? Arugula, shaved fennel?
Fennel in there and the arugula. Daniel's putting some fennel pollen on now.
Great new ingredient.
But it just gives a little freshness to the dish that sort of offsets the heavy grilled flavor.
The acid will be nice, clean. You got a kind of lemon-based vinaigrette.
And the lemon works with the chickpea, the pureed chickpea.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
But Sicily is definitely unique because of the different conquerors and invaders and people who lived on the island. Maybe there's others that didn't invade but that did live there, who play a part in making up Sicily's mosaic culture.
I mean, couscous is common in Sicily, and the combination of sweet and you see raisins and pine. This like real interesting palate that Sicilians seem to have. It's interesting, we're talking about Sicilian ingredients, and I know that I had friends in the almond business, and I know there's really incredibly old and specific almond species growing in Sicily. But talk a little about the slow food movement in Italy, too, because it's sort of what's old again has come back.
Well, right, and what was almost not part of the island's cuisine before is turning into the new Sicilian cuisine. So when a traveler goes today, and if you're in Sicily, and you're not going to someone's house to eat, what you can expect are a lot of ingredients that are listed from where they're growing, so many different ingredients that are all protected by slow food, and it's turning the Sicilian cuisine into something new. That with the combination of international culinary techniques, and like anywhere else, it's a new cuisine.
Yeah.
But
cross-pollination of ideas, sort of.
Yes.
Yeah.
So today's Sicilian cuisine, and that's what I like to focus on, is much different than what it was when my grandmother was cooking. This is the gemelli that we prepared earlier, so that at least we wanted to do a pasta with that cut. And the sauce that is going is a swordfish ragu. So we have in there the capers, we have the olives.
And this will work with, again, a light red wine will be beautiful, but also a nice white that has that good minerality. I love those coastal whites that are almost salty by nature, like on the other side, not Sicily, but Greco di Tuffa, Falanghina.
Yes, they work very well.
With tomato perfectly. It's a beautiful plate of pasta.
That's a good one. So it's a black squid ink pasta, and then this has has mixed seafood. So we have the shrimps in there and bay scallops in a very light tomato, not broth, but a tomato sauce with a little white wine in it, some fish stock.
Simple.
Real simple, yeah. This one you see here is an asparagus and beet salad with there's a whipped taleggio, whipped goat cheese. It's coated in a pistachio pesto.
Beautiful.
Thank you.
Eggplant caponata.
Thanks, Steve.
The beets and
a little chickpea puree.
Viticulture in Sicily is really fascinating. I think it's really catching on now. I know that
It's
Asimov
catching
mentioned
on,
the thing
for
in the
sure.
Times that he's really stoked about what's going on. To talk a little bit about where the grapes are grown now. I love that whole
They're
Mount
starting
Etna
to
region.
get it. They're starting
Yeah.
little by because there is so much increased attention to the wines of the island. So this is a Rovitello, 2007, and it's an Etna Rosso. Their winery is located in the southeast corner of Mount Etna. If you were blindfolded right now, and say, okay, it's an Italian wine, but what is it? I don't think your first guess is a Sicilian wine because
the colors. It's Pinot Noir, Gamay.
It's Pinot Noir.
That's that color.
it's almost you can think it's a Nebbiolo, maybe a little more orangey on the Nebbiolo, but still that could be a guess.
Really nice.
Yeah, it needs to open
Oak gives it a little bit of. It's got some tannin from the oak integration. Not a lot of some tannin from its own. Really beautiful wine in the mouth.
Yeah.
Tobacco and leather and ripe fruit and red fruit.
Yeah.
And it goes on. I mean, it was about a minute ago I swallowed, and it's still on my
Yeah,
inside
and
of
we'll
my cheeks.
decant it. You could try with dinner later. You'll see how it opens. Even being a 2007, it's definitely ready to drink.
This is beautiful. Thank you.
It's a swordfish impanata, meaning that it's
Breaded.
breaded Breaded and pan-seared. We do not fry, meaning in
Deep
the fryer.
fried, right.
That's
And it's flour, egg wash,
absolutely
breadcrumbs,
off
same
limits.
idea?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah. This is a really great summer dish because it's just so light and you can squeeze some lemon on top. And then we put on top the green olives and the capers and the shallots and garlic. There's little garlic in there.
It's saying eat me.
It's
I
saying,
can hear it.
It's saying we cannot wait.
Come on.
And one of the things I should mention is breadcrumbs are a huge key to the Sicilian kitchen.
That's the aioli, chef, yeah? Oven roasted eggplant, sliced paper thin, oven dried beefsteak tomatoes, a little salt, a little sugar, Eola oven 24 hours, cooks the water out, beautiful taste, buffalo mozzarella, and a pesto across the top. Simple, delicious, all the bites will be good.
So here we have the two-colored, the spinach and the carrot ravioli. They're filled with the ricotta and mint. And then we have the asparagus peas, we have the snap peas and the artichoke. So it's just spring vegetables, very
Scream
springy.
spring, yep.
Scream spring. Service, please.
So Melissa's kind of an academic, but her culinary career was inspired by her grandmother. And let's meet Grandmom and Mom, 3 generations while we're at it.
Tell me a little bit about your pasta, when you first learned how to make pasta.
Oh, I was very young. I don't even know if I was. I wanted to touch everything when I was a kid because I was inquisitive. So let's say I was 2 or 3 years old. My grandmother used to give me some dough.
Okay.
And I used to put it on the table and I used to work, to play.
And
but then when we got older, a little older, a few years older, I knew what I had to do.
Okay, folks, time to head back to the kitchen. I have no idea what I'm going to make, but I'll do my best to make Melissa's grandmom proud. All right, so what do I cook on the back end of this? These guys. Chefs love eggplants. Talk to any chef you know that's respectable, and they'll tell you they love playing with eggplants. One of the favorite things to do, and the Sicilians must have 1,000 recipes for eggplant. They call it the meat of the earth, and I totally agree with that. Melissa's Sicilian inspired. Obviously, that's where her inspiration came from. Grandmom, all those trips to Sicily, 2 restaurants now, Pastai and Eola. Eola, obviously, totally Sicilian in focus. So I thought, what do the Sicilians do in the classic Sicilian dish? A classic, of which there's a million variations, is Caponata. Caponata, I think is how it's spelled. You'll see it in all sorts of Italian restaurants, and everybody does it differently, because this is one of the hallmarks of Italian cuisine. Sicilian cuisine, same thing. Everyone's grandmother has a version of Caponata, and I think I've probably made it over the years at restaurants, different ways. I mean, I would follow the chef's recipe if it was a chef, but in my case, I would play around with it. At home when I make it, sometimes I have anchovies, sometimes I don't. It's sort of like whatever you have in the house, but the basics are eggplant. We're gonna start off with a whole eggplant. We're not gonna peel it. We're gonna cut it in kind of nice, medium, large dice, because I want that consistency when it's done. I want to be able to feel the eggplant when I'm eating it. We're gonna saute the eggplant under pretty high heat with a lot of olive oil, let it get some good color, then take it out of the pan, and in that same pan, we're gonna hit it with the usual mix of garlic and onions. We're gonna small dice some celery for texture, fresh tomatoes. If you don't have fresh, you can use canned off season. A lot of herbs. I've got oregano, a lot of fresh basil, and then the components that are kind of gonna steer it are gonna be a good amount of chopped olives, raisins, capers, and a little bit of vinegar. So what you have is a sweet and sour thing going on. So without any further ado, I'll keep quiet and cut my eggplant. And you try and find eggplants that are that have fewer seeds if possible, because there's a female version of the eggplant and a male. And this doesn't have to be perfect. This is grandma style cooking, right? Yeah, chefs just love eggplants because they've got a great meatiness to them to begin with. They've got great texture. You can roast them whole. You can grill them. You can go so many directions with them, and they're also just a great carrier, a sponge of other flavors. And I think this is a dish where that is showcased. Hey, running out of room here, chef? Yeah, I am. All right, I've got a good amount of olive oil here. I don't want to be shy. I don't want to go crazy because eggplant will soak up all of this olive oil. If I put in 3 times that much, it'll all disappear. We'll put the eggplant in. It should sizzle a bit, like that. In go the eggplant, and we're going to get them all over the bottom of that pan fast because they're going to suck up all that oil. We'll dice up the rest of the vegetables and get them ready. All right, so once I pull that eggplant out, the next thing I'm going to hit the pan with is going to be a mix of onion, garlic, and those A little bit of hot pepper. Did I mention hot pepper before? Well, if I forgot, forgive me, but it's in the recipe. And I'm gonna use, I don't know how hot these peppers are. You never can tell with peppers. So I don't want to go crazy. I'll use about 3/4 of it just to give us a little background of heat in there. And celery is really there for flavor and texture. I love celery. We're going to cut this on the small side. All right, when the eggplant comes out of the pan, that goes in. Let's check the eggplant. They sound good. All right, so you see the eggplant. This is pretty much what I want. You could hear that crackling sound in the pan. We're cooking out the moisture, all that steam that's coming out is moisture. We've got some nice color on this eggplant. You know, like this one's nice brown on the sides. They're getting a little soft and pillowy. So I'm done cooking the eggplant at this point for this stage of the dish. Got a little more olive oil now because we had a pretty dry pan there. And again, I'm using extra virgin for this because it's going to be really a big part of the flavor profile, is that olive oil. And we're just going to cook these down. We don't want a lot of color. We just want to kind of get them wilted. So what I'm going to do is, as these are sauteing, I'm going to chop my tomatoes because those are the next thing that are going to go in the pan. So meet me at the cutting board, please. All right, so all we're going to do is take off the one little end. Nothing fancy here. 1, 2, 3, 4, just nice, because I'm making tomato sauce, so the smaller I cut these tomatoes, in theory, the faster they'll break down once they hit the heat. Once again, you could hear this pan, that sizzling sound. It's telling me these are pretty close to ready. So this is a perfect time to add the tomatoes. And with the tomatoes in, I'm going to increase the heat a bit, because I really want to knock these tomatoes down. While that's happening, we're going to assemble everything else that's going to go in this dish once the tomatoes are ready. So I'll just pour these in last. The olives are about the only thing I've got to work on here. And we have, so you can see here, this theme, Sicilian food, Mediterranean food, Italian food. We've got a lot of olive oil in this, and on top of that, the flavor of these diced olives, which are going to be a big part of the finished dish, especially when you eat it refrigerated a day or two later, the olive really comes out. One more chop. I've got a lot of basil here, as you can see. Got some fresh oregano mixed in with the basil. There's probably some thyme in this, tiny little bit. It's all about the herbs, man. Raisins are gonna make it sweet. That's part of the sweet and sour. So the raisins will go in. Capers, because we just love capers in the world. And meet me at the pan, and we'll see if it's time to add the eggplant and make the magic here. So we're going to add the eggplant back in and just mix it all around. And then this huge flavor bomb that's just full of herbs, capers, olives. Raisins will give it some sweetness. Just a little, I'm not even going to use all that vinegar, just a little bit of vinegar, maybe a tablespoon. Because the intensity of the vinegar will not diminish, even though this reduces down. And plus we're going to get a little acid from those capers, because those were jarred capers, not salted ones. We're going to turn the heat down now, cover it with a lid, and come back and look at it in about 15 minutes. All right, let's take a peek. Oh yeah, that's what I like to see when I lift a lid. Basically, it's done. I'm going to let this dry out now. Whoops, made a mess there. All right, you can get tight on that. You can see how it's all bubbling. It looks like a beautiful eggplant stew, right? So, how do we finish this? We'll let it finish itself. Lid's off. We have the cooking we want. We're going to let it simmer like that for about 5 or 6 minutes. Right now, here's the sound of it. There's very little sound. When that sound starts to make that little more crackly, the liquid's out, we're good to go. We're going to just take some of this out while it's hot. And this would be the day you made it. Again, it's super. I think I almost prefer. I always make way too much caponata because I think I prefer to eat it the second and third and fourth days out of the refrigerator just as a side dish. So I love Melissa's story. Great, like this sort of academic, falls in love with the restaurant business, right out of the box, restaurant down on Bleecker Street, couple of restaurants now that are great. Really love the pasta program at Pastai, and Eola's classic, Sicilian. If you want Sicilian food, bingo, block away on 7th Ave. Continued success, girl. So, how would I do this at home? Real simple. I know people are doing like vegetarian Mondays or something. This is like such a great main dish. Have some dried cheese, have some fruit, have a tomato salad, something else on the side. This works as a main course beautifully. But normally, this is what I do. If I have fresh bread, it's on fresh bread. If I've got old bread, I toast it. It's really like a total flavor bomb. It's a little bit sweet. You've got the acid from the tomatoes, the vinegar, the capers. The eggplant's just meaty and delicious. Really feels like olives. You might want to finish this at the end with a chiffonade of fresh parsley and maybe some fresh basil to liven it up, because often when you cook herbs, they sort of retreat into the background, but I'm just loving it the way it is. Caponata, eat it. So if you're kind of trying to get more vegetables in your diet, this is a great one. Make too much, it's super good. Second day, third day out of the refrigerator, it's fantastic. All right, signing off till next week. See you then. My Colameco's Real Food is brought to you by the continuous, generous support of the following underwriters.
Colavita, a true Italian.
Imported from Italy, Anna Pasta is made from 100% Italian durum wheat semolina and pure spring water, slowly dried to cook al dente. Recipes online at cento.com.
La Baleine sea salt, naturally crystallized by the Mediterranean sun and wind on the coast of France. A heritage preserved over centuries with passion, craftsmanship, and care. The flavor of European pork and beef. The taste of European tradition.
From Wilshire Farms comes Lou's Garrett Valley Naturals, a collection of our recipes made from minimal ingredients without added antibiotics, hormones, nitrates, nitrites, or artificial ingredients. Lou's Garrett Valley Naturals. Rachel Ray's signature specialty food line, from her all-natural extra virgin olive oils and balsamic vinegars to her stock in a box, designed for preparing meals at home.